Greetings, dear ones. Greetings, beings. A little blip there. Greetings, dear beings. My name is Andrea Regal, and I'm welcoming you to episode 116 of Ancient Future Wisdom. These themes, talks, and deep dives are to assist you in transmuting old pieces within you, old patterns within you, and within the human collective, so that we are able to move into this next level of humanity's expanded way of being. Today, the theme is blossoming and deathing at the same time. And I have been driving around, and this is fall here on the East Coast. I live quite near Philadelphia, and the colors this year are exceptional. I know I've said that on many occasions before, but truly, we had such a warm spell for so long, and then a very, very strong extended week of cold snap, and then warmth again, which is just benefiting the trees immensely, plants and bushes, for their process of deathing. And the reason why this is called Ancient Future Wisdom is because in the transmutation of your old patterns, you are able to move yourself into your dreamed future. I don't know how many of you are in this area or on the East Coast, and if you're observing this, but I've been driving around. I posted a couple days ago that I was running errands. It was a magnificent sunset, and along with that, I was going into a store, and there were three huge, like 4 or 5 foot in circumference, daisy bushes that were in full bloom. Now, I even questioned in my post whether they were daisies or some kind of East Coast flower that I was unfamiliar with that blossomed in the fall. And sure enough, a very dear being answered me back and said, yes, her daisies were blossoming as well. I have a small azalea out front. I'll post the picture of it later today, that has been flowering, literally flowering for the past 2 weeks. I looked outside. My Rose of Sharon has new little budding leaves on it. I was driving down Cuthbert Boulevard, along Boulevard, with it's completely tree lined. It's beautiful. And the sycamores had leaves falling, and yet in other areas, again, new growth. So it's pretty fascinating what's going on, and seemingly confusing at the same time, which I'm sure a lot of people are experiencing, because we as a society, as a species, are going through much the same thing. And if it's said that if you don't study your history, you're doomed to continue making the same mistakes. Well, that's true personally as well as collectively. And some of that history has to die. And I don't mean as it's written in books, because there are too many people trying to revise history according to their view of things, which actually pushes us back in history and back in time rather than forward and progressing. So we also have, so many things. Everything is changing. So it can be very confusing. We counted on things and had our habits and our customs and our traditions of how to do things. And especially as we're heading into the holidays, it seems like, we are available or open to be able to gather once again because there's a good handle on COVID. But at the same time, there are also other waves going through of the virus. So it's very, again, it's kind of a stop start. What it seems like, we were opening up again and stores were going to be open, and it seemed like we were having a regular holiday season, but now we're kind of stopped by that in the fact that supplies are not there. Transportation is not bringing the items for purchase. The cost of everything has gone up because of the raising of the prices of petroleum, which we'll talk about another day. But this growth, this new growth that is being shown on the plants and the trees, is really representative of the different ways in which we are growing and becoming more as a society or as a people. And I really invite you to take a moment and check in and see what you have come to feel or realize are pieces of you, whether it's habits, old thought patterns, relationships, ways of doing things, whether it's in your daily life or now in regard to the holidays. What of these aspects need to die off, need to really fall away? And that's the beautiful teaching and opportunity of the season of autumn. That leaves, flowers, other types of blossoming has come to its fullest fruition and cannot go any further, and now must fall away, leaving space for the new. Now, we all know that, but looking at our own history, I'm just checking my notes, looking at our own histories, personal histories, that becomes very challenging because we see different ways in which we did not make choices, we did not make moves, we saw what needed to be done and kind of turned a blind eye or justified and rationalized it to ourselves and did not make those changes. And if you're listening to this, you are more than likely an old soul. And by old soul, my definition of old soul is someone who has been exploring this particular universe in the dualistic form that it's set up to be. And very, very likely you also have been exploring this planet for many existences. And that doesn't just mean human existences. There's so many different ways in which we can explore and be a squirrel, a tree, a leaf, a bug, a fish, anything. We have complete free will in this universe, and we are eternal beings, so there's a lot to explore and a lot of time to do it in. So if you're an old soul, you have chosen to be here at this point in time. You are attempting to more than likely finish up different investigations or projects you've been working on, bring them to a certain point. And we're talking about soul projects. We're talking about soul purposes, soul in ideas of an aspect you wanted to explore. Perhaps it's power. Perhaps it's being completely who you are in a physical body. There's so many things to explore. The list could go on and on for hours and hours. But there are so many beneficial energetics pouring onto the planet, coming out of the planet, appearing in so many different ways to assist in your process of transformation, transmutation, which is where I work with people, is in the transmutation of aspects of self to bring through more of your soul being and really live in this way on a daily basis, having constant input and influx of information, colleagues, companionship, etc., through aspects of nature, your guides, teachers, and masters that that are on your team, and really living the dream, so to speak. But in order to do that, we really need to allow pieces of our own nature really to fall away. That doesn't mean just adjust things, and that's wonderful if you've gotten some clarity and some awareness of why you do certain things, why you don't do certain things. But unless and until it's actually transmuted within, it continues to be or can be something that we are constantly trying to control, constantly trying to be on top of, or suppressing, or just wanting to get rid of. And that's not what your soul designed it for. It's here to give you an opportunity to go deep within, and in the work that I do with clients, trace it back through the initial patterning in childhood, which then enables the portals or doorways to even more of you in other existences or other lives to be affected, influenced, transformed, transmuted. So it's an amazing opportunity for you and your soul right now. But moreover, more than likely, again, if you're an old soul, you are here not only for the benefit of, even though it is primarily for the benefit of your own soul's expansion, but in the process of doing so, you are contributing to and helping this species leap forward. And it's really important that you know what's going on inside. And that's a challenge because your defense system will attempt to keep you from that because it believes that you are still a young child and that it would be very dangerous. So it takes a great deal to get past that defense system, that child's defense system, to be able to actually feel into the piece that is calling forth to be changed, to be deathed in this context. So I invite you to really use this time, and we're going to take a minute right now to allow you to sit really firmly in your chair, couch, what have you, and let yourself feel your physical body. Even if you run your hands over your physical body a bit, and allow yourself to come into that body, because energetically we generally stay up and out of it because it seems too scary, too painful, too infuriating, too grief-stricken to stay in it. And we feel and see what's going on around us. But when and as you do, and with, again, when I'm working with clients, there's a process by which we are able to get into those places and access those pieces and transmute them so that you are no longer having to hold them at bay or disconnect from them or be less than your full self. So right now, we have a lot of help. The container, the sacred geometrics of this container have been building for quite some time already. I was sitting this morning watching and working with them to bring in all of the latest information and the latest helpers and energetics. So despite the fact that we have a very short period of time here, it can happen very, very quickly and very, very deeply. So I invite you to allow yourself to come down and in yourself rather than up and out through your third eye or to a higher place. And ask. Simply ask. No demand, no request, no having to, but really in a very curious and invitational way to ask yourself, what is it? What action, thought, belief, aspect of me, way of being, habit is right at the point of deathing, that is being geared up to fall away? And again, it may be a relationship, it may be a job, it may be a habit, it may be a way of presenting yourself in the world. And you've gotten clues, you've gotten indicators. They have come, and we kind of squint our eyes and oftentimes don't really want to see. But we do know. We do know from a deeper place. This is not who I am. This is not who I choose to be. And that is what is going on in the larger picture, is we are deciding who we want to be as a species, who we want to be in our culture. Do we want to stay with the old historic prejudices and discriminations and beliefs about others that are unlike ourselves? Do we want to continue those old rivalries? Do you want to continue to disconnect or dismiss or diminish parts of yourself? Is there a battle going on inside? And I always like to remind my clients that information such as this is not necessarily going to come in nice, clear English sentences. It comes in forms of symbols and sensations in the body and song, song title, story, book, legend, myth, memory, movie, cartoon, character from literature or nature. You probably really don't have to sit long to have this information come forth because, as I mentioned earlier, you have clues. We all see, we all know when something is not right and we want something's not right within us and we want it to be different. So that's part of the old. And depending on how old you are, because these generally sourced from a long time ago. Now I invite you to set that aside and allow yourself once again to come back within, because you are the wise one. You have the information within you. So I'm going to invite you now, without that piece or those pieces in your life, in your internal world, in your surroundings, in your environment, relationships, work, etc. Without that piece interfering, how would you be? Who would you be? What would you be? In other words, really inviting, not through your mind, for that is a very limited perspective, but instead within, which is the font of your wisdom, all your knowledge accumulated in this and many other existences. We have the great animal teacher deer, who has been here very present the past week or more. Those of you who follow me or part of the Applied Universal Alchemy group have seen the posts of the deer coming forward in my yard, in my neighborhood. But they don't have to necessarily present themselves live. It can be in movies or books or songs, anywhere that you see a repetition of something 3 or more times. But in working with this theme of what needs to fall away or death, the deer's gentleness, its ability to soften even the hardest heart. Where have you been? Where have you hardened your heart to yourself or to others? Be it individuals you know, be it groups, leaders, politicians, others, they. Really allow the energy of deer with its gentleness to soften that place within you. Which will then open up your felt sense of who you might become in future. And that doesn't necessarily mean fame and fortune, it could. But who as a being you may become with the deathing of these pieces or patterns. One of the resources that I was guided to for information about deer says it this way. When you need to be heard and nurtured, call upon the deer as your spirit animal. If you're being too hard on yourself, or if someone in your life is treating you poorly, this animal will bring you back to balance and give you the courage to speak your mind. Now we're talking about that internal voice. Where are you being too hard on yourself? And how are you treating yourself poorly? Based on old patterns of being treated poorly. Calm and centeredness come when the deer is invited into your life. Think of the deer's antlers as antennae turned into the subtle energies that swirl through your unconscious. And that will really allow, far beyond this experience here and now, for the information to come through to you. Your powers of extrasensory perception can be stimulated by the presence of the deer, especially in delicate relationship matters when you need to listen to your gut. And that's exactly what we're referring to, listening to inside, receiving the information from inside. Not from others, not from outside sources. But internally. And knowing that you can come back to this place at any point in time. You can use the energetics that have been transmitted through this recording, through my voice, which has been occurring since the beginning of this episode today, and which is now bringing to consolidation and re-physicalizing, so that you are moving through your day with this process still going on, revealing information to you on a constant basis if you so choose. or when you sit in meditation or contemplation or just some quiet time. And as this is integrating even more into your system, I invite you to join me on the 19th at 8 o'clock. There is a very, very powerful and probably once in a lifetime eclipse occurring on that day. The difference between this eclipse and so many others is that this will be lasting for 3 hours. If you've ever followed an eclipse from beginning to end, that's very unusual because usually the time when the occulted part or covered part occurs is not that long. So this is a really wide opening for you to take advantage of in that exploration, revelation, and what we'll be working with that evening is literally the transmutation of a piece so that you can then move more into your future self. So I invite you to contact me and I will send you the worksheet because we are going to be doing a bit of work and as well a very deep transmission to not only bring that forward but to carry you forward into the future. So until then, it is as always with the greatest of honor, gratitude and love for your presence on this planet. See you soon. Bye-bye.